Good afternoon and welcome to the Construct Innovate webinar series on digital construction technologies. This is a 6-part webinar series. This week the focus is on digital platforms. My name is Jamie Goggins and I'm Director of Construct Innovate, which is Ireland's National Research Centre for Construction Technology and Innovation. As I said, this is a 6-part series. Last week we focused on digital adoption in the construction industry. This week it's digital platforms, and we have 4 more weeks to go after that, as seen on the screen here. We're delighted to have 3 fantastic speakers today with a range of different topics. So first up, we're going to have Denise Fitzgerald, who's European Corporate Leader for Procore Technologies. Many people are very aware of Procore in terms of the technology as a digital platform. And she's going to talk about building the future of digital construction. Then we have Gerard Nicholson, who's a lecturer in BIM at the Atlantic Technological University here in Galway. And he's going to explore the benefits, the risks and challenges of the common data environment. And then we have Xavier Dubuisson, who's the CEO of Retrokit, and he's going to introduce the Retrokit's digital tool for area-based retrofit planning. Okay, so we're going to have the 3 presentations first, and then we'll follow up then with Q&A afterwards. So if you have any questions for our presenters, then please pose them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, or maybe at the top of your screen, and then we'll pose the questions to the presenters at the very end. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first speaker, who's Denise Fitzgerald, who's the European Corporate Leader for Procore Technologies. So over to you, Denise.
Great, thank you very much, Jamie, and good afternoon, everyone. As Jamie said, my name is Denise Fitzgerald. I'm Head of Sales for Europe in Procore. So just give you a little bit of background about me. My background in construction is very much family related. So my dad, my 2 brothers have their own construction company that's focused on home build. We also have a quantity surveyor, and we've got a couple of engineers in the family, and I have something similar on my in-laws side as well. I've also PM'd the build of our 2 family homes as well. So whilst I did not follow in their footsteps, I'm very familiar with the industry, having practically grown up in it. And trust me, folks, the main topic of every family occasion is always construction. I instead went into the car industry and later into technology with leading tech firms like DocuSign and Oracle, where we had a particular focus on data. And for the past few years, it's been really around how do we get the most out of AI. It's great to see companies in the construction industry have digitized some aspects of their work, and things certainly have moved on. That said, knowing what I've learned about what it takes to get the most out of data analytics and AI, I am concerned that the approach that many companies are taking to digitizing their companies in this industry will not set them up fully to take advantage of these technologies. So really today, I'd like to take a few minutes to share what are hopefully some useful thoughts to consider as you embark on your own digital journey, or if you're accelerating that digital journey today. At Procore, our mission is to connect everyone in construction on a global platform. Operating on one connected platform means everyone within your organization has access to the same data, same drawings, the field and the office are connected, and teams can work more collaboratively, resulting in improved construction processes from pre-construction right through to closeout. Better construction means businesses open sooner, families move into their homes faster, our sites are safer, workers are more productive, and ultimately the bottom lines are improved. So our platform has helped over 16,000 customers use Procore's connected platform to build over 1 billion square feet of construction projects in over 150 countries globally. Users love the ease of use of our mobile-first approach, and our customers report being able to increase the volume of construction that they can undertake by a massive 32% after adopting Procore. And yet, disconnected ways of working are still holding back the majority of construction companies. In some cases, that's because they simply haven't moved towards digitizing at all. But by now, most companies have digitized at least a few aspects of how they manage their projects. And many of those are finding that while putting standalone tools or point solutions to handle a specific workflow does bring benefits, it also creates its own problems, such as data silos and being disconnected from many other processes, people, and really the data that you need to get the job done. And so a study of over 1,000 construction professionals found a whopping 35% of construction time today is still wasted on figuring things out or redoing things to make them right. And over half of that wasted time is spent searching for data or information. So clearly, folks, we all have work to do here. So isn't fully digital construction the answer? Isn't there a tool in place to digitalize? So isn't ensuring there's a tool in place to digitalize every aspect of each construction project the answer? Well, yes and no. Let's explore how not every approach to digital construction is created equal. Let's start by reminding ourselves of the benefits of digitizing a single construction workflow. Let's start with project management. We all know that a digital solution makes it far more efficient to sequence project tasks by individually identifying dependencies. It can, for example, it can prevent errors like scheduling concrete pours before foundations are fully marked out. Every time there's a change to a schedule, everyone instantly sees the latest version. And we can do basic reporting on activity types that are most likely to cause delays. So we've seen the benefits of digitizing one aspect of the construction project. So what happens if we repeat that process for every aspect? Well, we get those same benefits applied to each and every workflow. But the whole won't add up to more than just some of the parts. That's because we have essentially created 6 data silos. And whilst we can do basic reporting within each silo, the lack of connected data end to end greatly limits the richness of insights that can be generated. Any AI we deploy is limited by only being applied within an individual data silo. To avoid ending up in this scenario, we must heed 3 core truths of managing data. First, the golden rule is that when it comes to data, data together is better. Run analysis on project management data, and you'll see some patterns. But combine this data with tendering data, and now you can generate much more rich insights, such as contractors that are a little bit more expensive, but always get the job done on time and good at a high level of quality. Second, freshness matters. Progress on a construction project can change by the minute. And if the reports you use to monitor that progress are only updated every week or even every day, you can't make the right decisions at the right time. So if you're tempted to think exporting a few Excel spreadsheets from each point solution might do the job, we need to think again. As at best, it'll give you a snapshot of past status when what you really need is a current understanding of what's currently going on. Thirdly, and this is something that data professionals tend to understand more than most, stitching data from various different systems together in real time is both complicated and very expensive. To do it effectively generally requires data engineers, who are expensive resources. The way we can cater for those three core truths is by leveraging a united platform to manage all aspects of our construction project end to end. To be effective, the platform must provide solutions for every aspect of the project, from tendering and design coordination to project execution, workforce management, and controlling costs. The platform also needs to be open and able to integrate with the other systems that you use to run your business, such as your ERP system. The benefits of a unified platform like this is that it can provide core capabilities like BIM and mapping at a platform level, meaning that no matter what solution is being used, the experience is standardized, making it easier to train people and drive adoption. But crucially, the platform approach ensures data from all workflows are captured in a standardized structure in a single location. This means built-in AI co-pilots can easily answer questions like, is there a difference in water table height at different locations on this site? But things get really interesting when the platform has built-in AI autonomous agents capabilities. Let's take an example. Equipment is one of the top 5 sources of waste in construction. If you have a 40-ton excavator sitting on an idle site in Louth, when it's needed for a job on Greystones, that causes delays. An autonomous AI agent that has access to both project schedule and equipment data can identify the crew in Louth will be finished with machine by 11 a.m. on Wednesday and trigger a workflow request on Tuesday so that a truck driver receives notice on the phone. They need to go pick it up on Wednesday afternoon and drop it to Greystones. So it can be ready to go for digging foundations, which is due to start on Thursday morning. Now imagine when that machine arrives on site in Greystones and it doesn't start because the starter motor has finally given up the ghost. Wouldn't it be an awful lot better if an AI agent was able to monitor the IoT sensors of that excavator, notice it needs maintenance, and instead sends the truck driver to pick up a healthy machine that's available on your site in Mullingar? Or how about asking Copilot AI, what architect should I choose for this project? With a unified data platform that AI can look at, not just at which architect's quote is lowest, it can also look at the level of RFIs and rework on past projects. Maybe there's another architect whose upfront cost is slightly higher, but their detailed drawings prevent confusion on site and projects are delivered on time with few quality issues, meaning they're really the better choice for your bottom line. Building such an all-encompassing platform takes a lot of work. Procore has been building it for 22 years, and we invest over €250,000 per year on R&D, with over 1,800 people dedicated to building it, which is a level of investment in innovation unmatched across the construction technology industry. I could talk literally all day about the potential future uses of AI agents in construction. But for now, I hope the key takeaways were clear. 1, they will be real game changers. And 2, to enable them, you need to combine data across all workflows. 3, that's a lot less expensive to do at source in a unified platform than it is to stitch different tools together after the fact. So my parting advice is to think like an architect. Don't just design a bunch of independent rooms and hope they'll work together. Architects think ahead and consider what the future intended use of each room looks like and how things need to flow between them. Do the same when planning your own digital construction pathway, and you'll be much better placed to take advantage of the full benefits of a truly, truly connected construction. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Denise. That's great. That's fantastic. So, so I suppose key messages there around integration of different systems in there and connected together. So I suppose how we deliver successfully in projects is about connections between people and that, but also connections between the digital platforms that we use. So Gerard, that's going to lead nicely into Gerard Nicholson's talk, which is basically this common data environment where all the single source of truth lies, and he's going to talk about the benefits, risks, and challenges of those. So over to you, Gerard.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, so just to say that I'm going to talk about some of the basics of the common data environment, the capabilities, benefits, risks, and challenges. So hopefully I can do that today. Just about myself, just in terms of my academic ability is I have a master's in BIM and project management. I teach at undergrad and postgrad level in the BIM area. I was previously BIM manager at RPS on a number of infrastructural projects and commercial projects. My experience in terms of CDs, I've set some up for contractors and designers and worked on numerous CD environments in the infrastructure space. And obviously I've worked with my students building models, etc., within a CD environment from a teaching point of view. In terms of my main experience will be in the Autodesk Construction Cloud, so I'm going to mainly base it on that today. The reason we use that is it's free to educational institutes. It also links in with World Skills very well, and it works well with our Autodesk ecosystem that we use in here in terms of Revit, AutoCAD, Civil 3D. There are other CD environments, as you've seen today, with Procore, ASI, ProjectWise that people are using. And if you are using CD environments, some of your clients may be using kind of lower level of maturity CD environments like SharePoint and OneDrive, etc. So I'll be just looking at the kind of ones that are high level of maturity. I'll be focusing on the delivery phase of the project as well. So in terms of a CDE, some of you may be already working like this, where information is flying in all sorts of directions through emails and all that sort of stuff. But really what we should do is we should have a common platform. And that's the whole idea of the common data environment, that all information is shared through a system. So as Jamie said, a single source of truth, a central source for the information, collection, management, and dissemination. And obviously that would help foster collaboration between all the parties involved if we can do that. In terms of the CDE environment, there's kind of a misconception of what information we're talking about. Some people think that it's just about the 3D model, but if we look here at the actual system itself, we should be including all the documents within our project environment. We should be looking at the graphical information in terms of 3D and 2D data, and also the non-graphical data. So if we're using an object-based system, we do have a database in the background that's working, and that's what I was talking about, the non-graphical data. And when we use terms in BIM called project information models, some people think that we're just talking about the model, but we're actually talking about all these concepts here. So it's important to understand that within the CD environment, we're looking at all data on a construction project. And even when we're looking at the operational phase, we do also consider that the common data environment. Even though the environment may change, it's still referred to as the common data environment. So I just wanted to make that clear at the start what we're talking about. And also, the environments can be managed differently on projects. So one scenario might be where the client has a CD environment and they are dishing out the actual licenses for that, and they have full overview of the entire project and all the data associated with that. Sometimes the designer contractor might have a CD environment and they're giving out the licenses to the contractor and designers. And we also have other scenarios where there's a CD environment that the lead designer or contractor has one, and there's another environment, which is the client's environment, and you have to move information over there to get it approved and shared. So it's not always as simple as there's one environment, but as long as we're using the CDE processes, that's fine as well. And also, when we're looking at some of the appointed parties, some of them are working in the work in progress stage, we call it. Their draft version of what they're developing from a design point of view, and they do work in their internal servers, and when they want to share it, then they upload it to the cloud-based system, which will be the common data environment. So it's not as simple as there's one environment. There might be multiple ones which would make up the CDE environment, just to get that concept across. And ISO says that the whole information model is not always held in one place either as well. So we just have to be aware of that. And when we're working within the ISO 19650 framework, we are working in 4 states. Some of them we call work in progress, shared, published, and archived states. And when we're moving from one state to another, we have to go through this thing called information check process. So it's kind of a gateway to move from one state to another. So for example, if I'm working here in my work in progress and I want to share that with my structural engineer, I have to go through this information check process to get it into the shared state so that it's fit for purpose for the structural engineer to work off that information. So there's kind of a stage process there. We use a lot of metadata within the common data environments as well to manage the information. So any information is up there. We use information standards. Irish Annex is one for naming our files, the status codes and revisions, etc. Uniclass to classify the information within the model, so it's searchable, etc. And all this is fully auditable. So it's the audit trail of all the information production. We also develop BEPs as well in terms of our standards, methods, and procedures to manage this whole process. And it's one document that kind of tells the design team, this is how we're going to manage this information within this environment. So there's a common way of doing it. So that's kind of the background to the CDE. There's so much more I could talk about, but I'm just going to just focus on ACC now for the moment. And it's much more than a file management system, and all the CDEs are, because they have more capabilities than you might think in terms of it looks like a OneDrive, it looks like a Dropbox, but it does much more than that. So we do have things called cloud modeling that we can use. So with it, you can click on the model and you can go inside it, and you can have 20 people working on the same model at the same time. And essentially it works really, really well. You could be dotted anywhere around the country, and all you do is you upload it to the cloud, and the model updates relatively automatically. And you don't need much bandwidth or internet for this. It works particularly well. We do have systems as well where we don't need to install software on our computers. We can just in the CD itself, we can look at the models, we can review the models, we can measure areas, lengths, look at the properties of the model to see what information we can get about a particular item. We can validate information. I wouldn't say that ACC automatically in the background and works very well from a validation point of view within the CD, but there's other systems out there that do that also. And you can view many different formats in terms of 3D models, laser scans, etc. There's one other capability that people are looking at as well is, I suppose, recording issues on site. And what they're doing is they're assessing their suppliers in some ways. So you conform your issues about a particular contractor, or particular subcontractor or designer, and within the system, then you can assess how well they are doing. And you can pinpoint the main contributing factor as well to why is the project so slow by using these systems. And all these issues can be recorded on tablets or smartphones you're using. And we can bring these models together again, we can combine them, we can assess them, we can coordinate designs, and we can use clash detection. So we can see if there's any interference checking that is causing any conflicts on site, etc., before we actually build it. And this is all within the cloud-based system. There is some VR capability coming in now, I've seen in the last few days, but that's relatively new if you're pulling it down from the cloud. Another thing that people are looking at, and it's digitizing their paper-based forms, which I think is really useful. So they're digitizing them on these CDE environments, and they're using them then to record, I suppose, something that you would have paper-based into a digital form, so that you can, I suppose, reduce admin is a big thing. You can capture the information and analyze that data, and then export it as a report then as well. And you can say whether there's an issue because of this kind of assessment you've made through this digital platform. So it's very, very integrated in how we use it. And there is some AI capability, as Denise said, there's more and more. These are just two I was looking at in terms of computer vision monitoring, having a live camera, and you can get AI to monitor the site. There's other ones here where you can capture data through ChatGPT by just I suppose, taking a picture of a document, and it will extract the information from them. So there's much, much more happening in this space in terms of data analytics, linking in third-party apps. So that's kind of just giving you a brief overview of kind of the capabilities of these systems. So the part that I'm going to look at now is just what are the benefits to these systems? I suppose it's about information management, and the better information you have, the more informed decisions you can really make with these. I always say that BIM is good project management, and it's good project management skills. So if you're managing these systems properly, it should help you from a project management point of view. Accountability and traceability is key to these systems as well, and it does reduce a number of disputes you might have, you know, because it's all auditable and it's all traceable, so the information is there within the system for you to look at, and it should make collaboration easier. So if you have it all documented within your BEP of how you're going to go about something within these environments, it should make collaboration easier. And obviously there's more to come with the likes of AI. So I suppose the risks and challenges acquiring a CD, it's important to understand that, you know, if you're running a 10-year project, you need to understand the costs of the CD. And it's something that's come more and more. I get more people asking me about the cost, and we don't have to worry about that. And I know in the private sector you do, but you need to understand, is there a cost, and what's the cost over a 10-year process? You need to assess the capability. Is it going to do what exactly you want? CD is more than just, you know, a document management system. It's going to do a lot more for you as well. Switching CD, you're never probably going to do that midway in a project because there's interoperability issues. You know, there's no proper, I suppose, clear data structure for export and import of the data. It's a very manual process, and it's probably something that people should probably steer clear of. And if you do have a CD in place, over the past few years, I've seen people move to a different CD environment. It is a 1 to 2 year process between test and training and looking at the capability of the CD as well. So you need to be aware of, you know, moving is not that easy either. Never mind actually moving midway in a project. And I suppose some designers and contractors need to work with their clients when they're looking at CDEs, because the client does have the overall say. And in some cases I've seen from the designer point of view, where they're a client's rep, they don't have the overall say in what CDE environment they need to use. So you need to be careful in terms of that as well, and you need to be flexible enough. And the running joke is there's nothing common about a common data environment. They're all so different in how they work. And sometimes it can be a minefield just trying to figure out which one is the best one for you. There's other risks and challenges in terms of the project information model we just talked about earlier, in terms of, you know, this is through the whole life cycle of the CDE. So we have the information model at the project stage, delivery stage, and then we have the asset information model at the operational stage. And I suppose ISO 19650 Part 3 says that once the client accepts the information model, the project one, it's their responsibility to incorporate it and then maintain it in the asset management system. But the problem that people are finding out there is that many clients don't have the proper asset management system to integrate the information from the project information model. So getting it there is sometimes more difficult when it's not in place. And you can see the operational phase is much bigger than the project phase. And the CDEs as well used in the delivery phase in terms of the design and construction differ significantly from the tools used at the asset management phase as well. So just be very aware that there are different capabilities and requirements. We do have issues as well. You notice if you log into a CD environment, it does ask you, do you want to go to the US server or the actual European server? So there is different data protection laws that we need to be aware of. Like within our own systems in ATU, we need to be in the European data centers for our data because of the data protection rules around that. So you need to be aware of that, especially clients that are security conscious. And what is your information being used for in terms of, are they capturing all this information about you as a supplier? So if you're a subcontractor, you want to know what they're using that information for. So most of them are using it from a performance. Are these subcontractors performing? What issues are they causing? They're asking, and what costs are you associated to the project as well? And with the more use of AI, as Denise was talking about, are they using your data to train the AI models? So this is becoming more and more, I suppose, be aware that could be happening in the background. In terms of the Irish annex, in terms of the information standard, there is a UK annex and there is an Irish annex. Which one do I use? They are very, very different. So just be aware that you need to understand what information standard you're using. I'm not going to get into really it, but there's some people not that happy that the Irish annex is quite different to the UK. So the annex actually tells us how we should name our documents, what revisions we should use and what statuses we should use as well. So just be aware that there is risks around that as well. That's kind of it for my presentation, just giving you kind of a brief overview on some of the risks and challenges. I suppose some good resources that I use with my students is the Digital Construction Pack, the CIF guide. I think that's really good. Joseph Maddy and Paul Oakley developed that in 2003. I think if you want to know more about BIM and CDE environments, that's really good. And any advice you're getting about CDE environments, always go back to the ISO 19650 documents to make sure what you're being told is actually 100% correct. That's me, Jamie. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gerard. That's very impressive to get that amount of information in 10 or 15 minutes. In there, there's an awful lot. There's an awful lot to the common data environment, a lot there. So Gerard has a lot more knowledge there as well. So is Denise around this area. So if you have any questions that you want to pose to Gerard or Denise, then please put them in the Q&A function at the bottom and we'll deal with them afterwards. So we're going to move over to our third speaker. So Xavier is going to talk about Retrokit's digital tool for area-based planning. So over to you.
Great. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Delighted to be there. I'm going to take up the challenge and keep this under 15 minutes. I'll do my very best because I want to leave time for Q&As. Really interesting to follow on the two first presenters. We are also in the construction space, in fact, in the reconstruction space. So this presentation is very much about what Retrokit does in the area of energy retrofitting housing. So we're, I'm not shy to say, a award-winning platform that's dedicated to upscaling energy renovations in Ireland, obviously, where we're embedded, but our vision is for a European dimension to what we're doing. We're proud members of Construct Innovate as well, so it's nice to be invited. So when we look at the challenge, we have a huge problem in terms of our housing stock across Europe. About 75% of our building stock, actually, not just housing, has a poor energy performance. And if you grew up like me in the 70s in a cold house during the energy crisis, you know what I'm talking about. And but it's not just about energy security or affordability anymore. Buildings are at the core of the world's decarbonization challenge. So to solve that problem, there's a raft of policies. The EU Renovation Wave has set a very ambitious framework to upgrade 165 million buildings by 2050. And overall, we're expecting an annual investment of 275 billion across Europe to decarbonize buildings. So the opportunities will be massive. We're focusing on the residential sector. And we have view to upgrade, and this, let's say the size of the market is 146 million homes to be retrofitted within the next 30 years. And we know the target here in Ireland is 500,000. So we have, considering the nature of housing stock, a big challenge as well here. Now, if we look at the journey people are homeowners are going through to get their homes upgraded, there's a number of issues. First of all, the process is quite complex. It's manual. The value chain is pretty fragmented and generally under-resourced. There's a lot of pressure, we know, in terms of skills and availability of labor, etc. And another issue is that information isn't shared properly. And as a result of these issues, everybody's frustrated by long delays. And from a sales perspective, which is a key part of the, let's say, the journey we occupy or enable, the conversion rates from sales to project are quite low, and also productivity is low and costs are high. So these are big challenges if we want to upscale retrofit. And as you can see on this graph, there's a lot of stakeholders involved, lots of decision makers, different steps, etc. So it's complex overall. It's complex. So in that context, Retrokit has developed smart automation solutions that increase productivity, reduce costs, and provide reliable information for all the stakeholders involved. So we're used first by professionals in the home energy renovation value chain to drive sales, optimize their design and pricing, and then get projects shovel ready 3 times faster. 2, we also work with the social housing sectors, residential landlords, generally speaking, that use Retrokit to get really deep insights into how their housing stock is performing from an energy point of view, but increasingly carbon is the currency, if you want. And they really see that there's an opportunity, but a huge investment has to be made, and they need good, solid investment strategies that is going to enable them to get on with the job and work as their legacy in terms of their dwellings, and then to be able to go to the supply chain with clear specs for their requirements and get projects on the ground going. So the platform we've put together combines a data management system, decision-making supports, analytics and modeling, and then to really enable strategic planning and generating a range of reports around that. So it's about the functionalities, but behind that, there's a really good team combining energy geeks like myself, as well as software developers who've developed the tool, but also are there to work with our clients to develop solutions, design them, and then implement them with them. And that's very important. We see, in terms of the digital space, it feels virtual, but it's very much about people on the ground. And I'll illustrate how we're going about that with one of our clients in the community sector. So speaking of clients, we now have really good traction in the marketplace. As I said, we have essentially 2 market segments. One is the supply chain, let's say with one-stop shops, professionals, advisors like BR assessors. And equally, we, as I said, work very closely with the social housing sector. We have a growing body of clients, both in local authorities and housing associations, working with us and relying on our solutions to get their retrofit programs going. As I said, I'll focus on just illustrate, I guess, how these things are helpful on the ground with one particular project that's very close to my heart, because it's about decarbonizing an urban area in Galway that has, let's say, it's a disadvantaged area from a social and economic perspective, and the housing stock is quite old as well. And the Net Zero Cities project in Galway is part of a pilot program involving 104 cities across Europe to test and implement innovative approaches to rapid decarbonization over a 2-year pilot program. And the whole purpose, I guess, is to test new solutions and then to deploy and scale up to a wider area. And they have €1 million over a 2-year period to address the barriers to residential retrofit, again at a very local level. The partners are also local, and glad to mention University of Galway and the work they're doing in partnership with the City Council, the Northern and Western Regional Authority, and the Galway Energy Cooperative, and then ATU as well. In terms of let's say the Warm Home Hub, which is let's say the embodiment of what the project about on the ground, it's a service that's been deployed by the partners to develop and pilot a community retrofit hub. It's now a fully functioning service that's has got a digital dimension and a physical one. Their target is to recruit 250 homeowners to retrofit their homes, but they also conduct a lot of awareness raising sessions with homeowners. And essentially it's about identifying the key barriers and developing ways to address them in a way that can be replicated and scaled up. The area is about 2,564 houses, and there's about 7,500 people living there. So how does Retrokit help the project? We have leveraged our platform to provide a number of, let's say, tools. So we'll talk about the toolkit. And essentially the first part of the project, our contribution to the project, was to develop what I'd refer to as business intelligence, really deep understanding of how the housing stock is, how it's distributed between the different small areas within the locality, and then to be able to really target areas for specific actions. And so in that context, we leverage the platform, the analytical tools of the platform, but we also bring in other tools that we find are very useful when we need to adapt to our clients' requirements, which can be very dynamic and very customized. So we use things like Power BI to do analytical work, combined with Python, very powerful. We then often export data into Excel, where we can shape the data, generate visuals, or develop further analysis. And then we also combine that with a spatial planning tool using GIS, as well as our own internal mapping tool within the platform. Essentially, what we do here is, yes, we're a small company, so there's 6 people in the team. So we're very conscious that we can't do it all, right? At least develop a platform that does pretty much everything. I'd love to be in a position like Procore to have a full suite of functionalities and services within our platform. We'll get there eventually. In the meantime, we're clever about going and use tools we're familiar with, not necessarily relying on our coders, but to really enable the digital journey for our customers. So in this case, what happens here is that Sandra and Kieran, who are on the ground at the Warm Home Hub, working with people, first of all, they're at the office. They are planning to run an information campaign. They need to identify a specific area where they want to go and knock on doors and have conversation with homeowners. Then they use our Power BI app to really target a specific small area, understand what kind of of houses are there? What are the key issues they're likely to face in terms of, for example, how are houses insulated? What kind of houses are they? What kind of heating systems, etc. So they really can go on site with that intelligence and the, let's say, knowledge that will enable powerful conversations and advice they can deliver to homeowners. At that stage, once they've engaged with homeowners, they can come back, use the platform to capture their BR data for a specific client and say, okay, we need to produce for that client a retrofit plan. And they go into our platform, capture the BR data for that specific dwelling, or work with a BR assessor that's going to produce that new BR data set and bring it into the platform. Once it's there, they can model a range of options on how to upgrade that house at different levels. Can be ultimately a B2, it's a deep energy retrofit type, but conscious of the fact that a lot of people can't afford that big investment and they prefer a step approach. So they can look at it in a lot of different ways. Once the modeling is done and let's say the right type of solution has been assessed for a particular house, that can be turned into a suite of reports. Reports can be very simple with kind of a green light type of scoring mechanism, looking at different measures, looking at different impacts of those retrofit packages, and really a tool that's customer facing, that's easy to communicate around. Equally, you can generate what's called a home energy assessment that goes deeper in terms of the details on the information that's provided, but also it can be used to provide specifications for tendering purposes or for as part of a contract with a contractor, one-stop shop, or a community energy grant coordinator. I guess an enabler there is the fact that we have an API that can connect with a range of other platforms and tools available to them. For example, a CRM system, I've mentioned Power BI, where you have a very dynamic environment between let's say the functionalities and the data produced by our platform and the other tools they're using for their day-to-day activities. And that's just an example. And this happened quite recently. We had a meeting online, and Sandra was showing us how she's using Power BI, for example, to target areas, to monitor their impact, the before and after. And this was not me piloting the tool; she was doing it, and it was really convincing to see that tools that we developed and pushed forward to them and trained them to use were really effective in their day-to-day activities. And equally, she showed us how she was using the platform to get really deep insights into a specific dwelling's performance, U values, for example, what type of roof, how many windows, etc., to drive her advisory service to homeowners. So if I want to summarize, and what I really wanted to illustrate here is how a digital tool like Retrokit, combined with the skill set we can bring to the table as a team of energy engineers, as well as software developers, coders, energy analytics, can really have an impact on the ground and enable a community initiative that can be fundamental in terms of driving retrofits at a very local level. And it's, kind of amazing to see how it morphs into a service that's very much boots on the ground and conversations, and really helps them in delivering that process and that service in a collaborative manner between the other stakeholders involved, the professionals, the contractors, etc., in a way that the data forms an integrated package where everybody can work off, but ultimately it forms part of let's say, an interaction and a conversation with homeowners, and then the realization of the project ultimately. And all of that really helping drive productivity and results. I think that's really fundamental, obviously, and to put them as a community-based organization working for the homeowner to really calibrate the type of solutions, retrofit solutions that are suitable for their target audience, but also puts them in a position where they can really have let's say, drive competition in the marketplace as well, from that, let's say, independent, trusted voice. And but so this was, as I said, an example that's close to my heart because it's community based, but equally we work with the value chain with one-stop shops, for example, implementing very similar types of solutions, but in a different context maybe, or different purposes. But as I said, we also work with social housing bodies, and ultimately bring about that kind of revolution we need, which is the decarbonization of our housing stock here in Ireland and across Europe. And with that, I'll leave this with you, and feel free to contact me if you have a project in mind, if you need support in what you're doing, or if you have a research or innovation idea that you'd like to share or get us involved with. We'd be delighted to do that. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. And I suppose it's great to see the adaptability from your organization, from your company, where a social enterprise comes and tells you what they need, and then you are able to deliver by tailoring a solution based on your platform for them. So that's fantastic, and hopefully we'll see great impact on the ground within Galway City as a result of that.